the corner for you.
Welcome, guys, to episode 2 of Moms Without Filter. Today's episode is going to be mainly focusing on kids' difficulties with like ADHD, maybe being on the spectrum, not generally in class settings, but we do have some we do have like some of our knowledge off of kids with difficulties or disabilities in school settings. So don't mind me. I sound like shit. I feel like shit, but we're going to
I'm not
continue.
laughing at you. I do have
so,
a laugh.
welcome back. So, again, my name is Nani Naleen, and my co host. You want to introduce
Oh,
yourself again?
sorry. Um, my name is Andrea, and this is the second time that we're recording. First time with video, so bear with us. We're still working a few things out.
First time with video, yes. And so we're just gonna get right into it. Um, I think I'm gonna just start it off myself, considering I've dealt with a lot of difficulties with my oldest child. Um, with the fact that, oh Lord, it's just the shit you have to do, right? Anyways, with the fact that um he's had some very big emotions that he's had to deal with since a young child, and we've noticed a lot of flags that kind of triggered us to think that maybe he was on the spectrum of autism at an early age. But of course, we didn't know anything. We were first time parents. But I do want to get into some of like the statistics a little bit. But this is, like I said, this is based in a school setting. And it's pretty sad because it's like more than 60 students with disabilities, they spend their time like their 80% of their time, like their school day, in a general education setting. So they don't get like the extra help provided or needed for them, which I find very like, I don't know. But anyways, I'm not going to get into politics. It's one thing that I will not talk about, but it does have to do with a lot of that, which sucks.
Yeah.
But anyways, um, and then I also wanted to let everyone know that 40%, this is within the United States, and this is off of, uh, where's the source from? Oh, this is globally. I'm sorry. This is off of Google, so I'm not quite sure where the source is from. I apologize. I'll look it up here quick. But I wanted to like point this out because to me this is crazy. And it says that globally an estimate of 15% of students have learning disabilities, affecting about 1.7% of children worldwide. It says in the US, 20% of children experience learning and thinking differences, including attention disorder. And it says that boys are 3 times more likely to be identified with learning disabilities than girls are. But there is 40% of learning disabilities that go undetected. So we're talking dyslexia, ADHD, um, diagraphia. I don't know, writing difficulties. I don't know how to say that, but we'll just go with writing difficulties and math difficulties as well. And I found that very interesting that 40% of our kids just kind of slide by without being
Like
recognized that they're
special. Yeah.
having. Yeah. So, anyways. moving on.
So, how long did it take for your school system to listen to you about your son's difficulties? And has he been diagnosed with being on the spectrum or with ADHD or anything?
So with Ben, it took until Benjamin was in first grade, which is this year. He started Head Start when he was 4, and then he was in kindergarten, and of course now he's in first grade. But it took them until he got diagnosed with ADHD to put him on a 504 plan, which I'm learning any kid can get pretty much. 504 plan is just having like a detailed plan for your kid if they're struggling in school setting. Um, they have it where they'll list out sets of goals for your kid to meet. Um, and they have it like within like maybe like a 9 month, or not a 9 month, oh my god, a 9 week period. So that is what we got into, and that happened this year.
So, does it
Um,
change every 9 weeks?
every 9 weeks, if he is able to, so if he is able to complete the goals that he has in 9 weeks, then they move to a different goal to try to help him with things, like his handwriting, or because that's something that he really has difficulty. His penmanship, he doesn't know how to hold the pencil correctly. Um, the other thing that he struggles with is just focusing, and of course a kid with ADHD, like it's really hard to focus. We did try medication, but that was a no-go for us. But to start like from the beginning, Ben was not always like, Ben was just like a regular kid. Like he maybe was a little late with his talking,
Mhm.
but the only things that we noticed was at 2 years old, like I was saying, he was having really big emotions, and we noticed that he kind of just didn't know how to deal with them. But again, like I said, we were brand new parents. We had no idea like if that meant, like if
Autism.
that was normal, right? Because 2 year olds can be a bit difficult.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
They're learning new things. They don't know how to talk. You know what I mean? Like most 2 years don't know really know how to talk. And I think that's a lot of the frustration that occurred for him, was he didn't have a lot of words to use. So he didn't know how to say like, I want that, or I want this, and it would frustrate him, and he would go into these like crazy tantrums. It was hard for us to even take him out to a restaurant or to Walmart without, like out getting those stares from people like we're just the worst parents in the world because we don't know how to handle our kid, which is was true. I mean, it was
I
difficult
mean,
for us. We
you
had no
can't
idea
really,
this was our
yeah.
kid.
Unfortunately,
So,
that's what
but
things too.
yeah, yeah, that is like one of the main things that, and to this day, I mean, like my son has gotten so much better. He's so much better with everything. But the seeking of help, I had to do all that. I did that on the outside of school settings. So before he even started kindergarten, we did cognitive therapy with him. And for people who don't know what cognitive therapy is, I want to get this right, so let me Google it quick. Hold on.
While you're Googling, I have a
Cognitive,
question for you. Do
yeah,
you
go ahead.
feel like if you wouldn't have taken the steps as a parent to be like, hey, my kid is struggling, do you think the school would have giving like like the teachers would have had enough patience to be like, this kid is struggling, this kid needs more help than other kids may need? Do you think they would, or would they have just tried? You don't think at all?
Um, to be completely honest with you, I don't, because Ben has broken a smart board and apparently pushed a teacher. I don't know how. Don't ask. My son's literally like 45 pounds soaking wet. But even through that, like we weren't given, and this was in kindergarten. We weren't given any kind of extra help for him.
Where
The
they never
only
called a meeting saying, "Hey, we think your kid's struggling." Nothing.
No, they just called to let us know, like, hey, your son's got some behavioral issues, and you need to kind of get that in check, pretty much. But before he started kindergarten, like I said, we did. Oh my God, we did. Excuse me. We did cognitive therapy, which is a type of psychotherapy that focuses on how thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are interconnected. So it aims to help individuals identify and modify unhelpful or inaccurate thinking patterns to improve their overall well being.
Do you think that helped?
So it definitely did. When they say that the easiest way for me to explain the cognitive therapy, because that's a lot, is like they pretty much were trying to rebuild and restructure Ben's brain so that he could understand his feelings better. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's the kind of therapy. So him and his dad would go in, and the therapist would be behind like a glass, and Marcus and Ben would be in the room. Who doesn't? Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't even mention Marcus before. Marcus is Ben's dad. Let me get that out there. Jesus. So just thought I would say it anyways. So Marcus and Ben would be in the room, and Marcus would have an earpiece in his ear, and the therapist would tell Marcus to do certain things to kind of like tick him off. And that's where it would come into play of the reconstructing of the brain, I guess, because she would tell him, like, if he was playing with a toy or something like that, she would say, oh, tell him he can't do that, to see his reaction. If he burst out, then you would correct him and be like, now we know that you have strong feelings about this, but this is the way that you should play. At first it was like all him, like he took control of everything, and then it switched to dad being in control. And it did help a lot, to be honest with you. I think it really structured Ben to not have as many tantrums as he was having. But it's a world of a difference having a kid with like a learning disability. And I say learning disability, but besides learning difficulties, because it's a disability for him. Like it's
Mhm.
something that he had to try to overcome, and he will forever have, well, not forever, but until he can fully develop his brain and fully have that function of his brain, there's no there's no saying like how long that can take. You know what I mean?
I think the
I'm
managing of emotions is probably going to be
Yeah,
like a lifelong.
exactly. And I think that it's it's great that we've gotten him to the point that we have gotten him to, at such a young age, because like many people say, like a lot of kids who have these emotions, they just kind of get swept under, like, oh, he's just spoiled, or oh, he's
His
just,
parents don't care, or
yeah, like the parents are just like, oh, well, boys will be boys, or you know what I
mm,
mean. And sometimes you gotta have to kind of like know Not true, because that could just be something that he is having a hard time or he's struggling with, and they're not going to tell you because they're 7 years old. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
and
like
they don't even know how to say how they feel, let alone tell you what's wrong.
exactly, and the schools don't really. I mean, my experience with his school,
I feel like it's
if the
common
pushing a
though.
teacher and breaking, yeah, like if the physical behavior of my son didn't put up red flags, then I don't think anything would have, to be honest with you.
Um, that what you're saying, what I was gonna say is, I feel like a lot of parents struggle with. Before I go into like my daughter and her issues and her reactions, her story is a little similar, but she's not in school yet. I
Right.
feel like it is so common nowadays, not just autism or ADHD, but the way kids react to certain things. I feel like the managing of emotions. And when you have a child, they'll sort of, when you go to the doctor, the pediatrician, they'll be like, oh, they're learning new emotions, but they don't actually give you like the tools I think that some people may need or would be beneficial from to
Resources.
navigate like those big emotions, those reactions. Because yes, 2 year olds, like you said, they react. But with Abriella, sometimes her reactions are a lot stronger than I would say the average 2 year old. The temper tantrums, the um, uh, how she doesn't like if she doesn't want to do something or if she is upset about something, it's a lot stronger than I would say the
Yeah.
average 2 year old. In her case, um, the pediatrician said it's because her brain is literally firing so fast all the time. Because right now we're actually she's actually reading, she's doing a lot of things a 2 year old normally doesn't do. So they say that it's because she has so many things going through her head so many times she doesn't know how to deal with those emotions. So I think it's common for kids maybe not to have just ADHD or autism or bipolar disorder or any of these actual disabilities, but to having a small, they could be, focusing too hard. A lot of things that are overlooked, and the teachers, when you take them to school, they're like, oh, well, you need to check your kid. It's not our job to provide these tools, but it is the educational
Right.
system's job to provide tools for each kid and and I know in bigger cities it's hard to be like, oh, well, 5 of the 500 kids in this school, they learn differently than others. And that's where we're probably not going to touch in this episode because it does deal a little bit with politics, but with funding and providing. But the patience that it takes to deal with children, I don't think a lot of teachers are equipped to deal in these situations. So they're just like, oh, well, we're just going to blame the parent or we're going to blame the kid, or we're not going to be like, hey, we need to sit down and talk about what we can do to help your kid.
Right. Right.
You know what I
No,
mean?
yeah, they definitely don't assist as much as they should. Like I said, from my experience, it was me researching on Google resources, places that take his insurance, and therapies that will help him control his emotions. And I don't like saying control because, to be honest with you, who the fuck cares? Like, I have big emotions. You know what I mean? Like, I have my days where,
Mm-hmm.
ugh, like, I'm like not a
Oh,
good
me
person.
too.
You know what I mean? Like, and I get it, like, but it's more of making sure that he understands it's okay to have some of those days, but know that there are consequences to when you go above and beyond. You know what I mean? Like his emotions stem out and they turn into running under a desk or throwing a chair, or you know what I mean. Like for him it's a lot more physical as well, which really
Yeah,
blows.
Gabriella's in that lashing out.
Yeah, and that's what I continue to say. It blows my mind that um a lot of the stuff that was going on and happening in the school, like I mean we were always on pins and needles pretty much, like we were always just like on the edge of our seats anticipating a phone call from the school, like, oh, your son did this, or oh, your son did that. Like it was just a constant thing every single day. He's a lot better now, like I said, but I definitely understand the struggles of having to go through it. You know what I mean? Like it's not easy. It's not an easy thing. I'm going to knock this computer in its face. I'm
I'm
just
just looking something up here. I'm
excuse me.
curious on how many.
Put this fucking down. Hold on. Ugh. I'm trying to like. Okay, now we're good. There we go. Go ahead.
I was trying to see um, how many schools in the United States are equipped to deal with learning disabilities, not or difficulties. It says it's hard to pinpoint the exact numbers that are fully equipped to deal with learning disabilities. It's estimated that 55% to 64% of the schools are serving students with disabilities, providing uh, like excessive or adaptive hardware, and only 39% to 56 provide like software that is equipped
Yeah.
for kids with special needs, learning difficulties, learning disabilities. There are only 1,870 schools with special education, like special education schools in the entire United States. That is
And
crazy.
that's a separate setting for these children.
Yeah, and that means there's so many people probably in rural areas, small areas that don't
Yeah.
even have access to those types of facilities. So if you are facing a school, like I can't really say much about the school system where I live because we have yet to face that, but I do see a lot of posts and stuff about
Yeah.
teachers losing their patience, or we did deal with some things with um one of our children where they would have to call meetings and stuff. They wouldn't pause for her. She had absent seizures, and they wouldn't like they would keep going. And if she missed something, they wouldn't repeat it. If she zoned out on a test, they wouldn't let her retake it. There was a lot of things, and I don't think that's fair because it's not like she was doing it on purpose. You know what I mean?
No. Yeah.
But
Exactly.
then it's like you go into these meetings and it's like a bunch of people sometimes are ganged up on you as a parent, and you have to advocate for your child, and it's like you're fighting a never ending battle throughout the educational system. And I don't want to say like all teachers are bad, all education systems are bad, but I feel like there's definitely a lacking, for a lot of moms, dads, kids dealing with these situations where there's not resources, not support, not teachers that have patience, or special needs
Right.
teachers, or
No,
so
you're
I want while
completely
you
correct.
are that up, I want to give this an opportunity for moms that are dealing with this situation to reach out to us, maybe tell your story on what you've dealt with maybe your education system, maybe when you've been out in the public, because it goes past the schools. It's like you said, you couldn't even take your son to a restaurant or to Walmart or stuff. People are so judgmental. It's insane. Like
So
there's so many
judgmental.
kids that are going through so many different things, and they shouldn't be like they're looking at you like you're a bad parent when your kid's really struggling and you're doing the best you can.
Yeah, they're quite literally giving you like the stare of like death. Like oh my god, like really? Like I
Like
shit
you
you
just let your
not.
kid do that? You let your kid act like that?
Yeah. Like I shit you not. This one time we were at Walmart and Marcus was typically the person to carry Ben out of Walmart. I wouldn't like I not that I really gave a crap of anybody staring, but like he just handled it a lot more better than I lose my fucking patience very
Oh my
quickly.
god, me
But
too. That's Mark Way too. He's the way more patient than I am.
so he would take care of it, take him out. But the one time I actually went to Walmart by myself with Ben, and I'm like, everything's gonna be okay. Like we're gonna be good. And no, needless to say, he had like the biggest meltdown. And so I just literally carried him over my shoulder and was walking out of Walmart with him kicking and screaming. And this lady just fucking stares me down like as if I'm kidnapping my own son and just fucking says like, "Oh my, is he okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, would you like to deal with it?" I'm like, "He's having a tantrum. Like here, I can hand you him if you want to take care of it. If you know how to take care of it a lot better than I do because I'm at my wit's end." No, it's
Yeah,
a
and
lot of struggles.
especially when you're not really like given resources or like I said advice and stuff. I can't say the same like with my pediatrician. It is definitely different with my doctor's office. Everybody's in a very close knit community, so they can, they'll give you your opinion as a mom. They have tons of resources. Um, I've asked a million times if they thought that maybe she was on the spectrum, if she was dealing with this, and they absolutely don't think so. They're so supportive. But again, in the school situation here, there's a lot of kids I see are struggling. They're not getting the help they need. The school is not getting the funding they need for these things. And I feel like it's a lot, it ties a lot in with the mom guilt too, because then you feel like, am I doing enough? Am I doing enough? Am
Yeah,
I providing enough? And then you get the judgmental people out there that make it even harder.
exactly. They make it seem as if, I don't know if they've had kids or not, but like if they have, then they've had angel babies, I guess, because the way that they
I just
look
feel
at
like
you is
that's a lie. I feel like that's 100% a
weirder.
lie. People like have this, oh, my kid would never. Well,
Yeah,
imagine what your kid does when you're not around, like, or the teacher doesn't see. Like, you hear stories about other people's kids, like how they treat other kids, and
excuse
they
me.
make fun of kids with disabilities and stuff, and they're like, "Oh, my kid's an angel," but your kid is literally probably the one bringing these other kids down.
Right, exactly. No, yeah. Um, sorry. So what do you find like with you said it was Abriella, right? Who was struggling or
Mm-hmm.
you thought?
Mm-hmm.
So what with like Abriella, did is she still having issues or
Oh, I mean, okay, so when she was before she turned 2 and around the time she turned 2, I couldn't take her to the doctor's office. My sister couldn't even talk to me. Like we went on
yeah,
vacation. Like she was not good around other people. And that is normal, yeah, but she would take it like to the level of flipping out. Like we had furniture, I had a new fridge delivered, and she got so mad that she bit the baby gate and ended up making her lip bleed and everything because there was somebody new. And now all of a sudden it was like a switch. We go to the store and stuff, we go to the doctor's office, she's like, say hi, say hi, say hi. But she's still at that point where if things don't go the way she wants them to go, or she's like if her brother's freaking out, she's still like getting physical, still screaming, still going through. I mean, you hear my kids screaming now, but right now they're just playing. But she
yeah,
still is having a very hard time navigating those emotions. And I definitely think it goes past the point of here she comes. Abriella. She just woke up from a
yeah.
nap.
Got a lot.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
She can hear me. and she doesn't know where I am, and I'm in the playroom.
That was bad though. Uh,
So this is just an example of how she reacts to situations. Like she freaks out, and sometimes it takes Orion. Everything is happening at once right now. This is the moms without filter part because our lives are we're moms still. So but she
no, it's really, I'm sitting here working while I'm having a conversation with you guys.
I
I'm
didn't
so
know
sorry.
I
Like,
didn't know if you were researching something or if but I feel like
no, I'm
this is
sending
kind of
out.
go ahead.
No. I'm sending out emails because my boss is like messaging me, asking me what I'm doing. I was just like, I'm emailing people. That's what I'm doing.
Are you working right now?
Not
Like
it is like,
are you supposed to be working
well,
right now? Okay,
shh,
so
nobody
this is
knows.
this episode is basically we're going to tell you guys we're telling our story a little bit about what we are dealing with, you know, and every mom I think is dealing differently, navigating differently.
Yeah,
Autism is so common nowadays, not just being fully autistic, but being on the spectrum. There's a lot of people they
yeah.
don't know, you know, if you there's a lot of research going into this field lately. Um, but if you don't know, there is more than just being autistic. There's more than just being Asperger's. There is a whole spectrum where, and it's a lot of people joke about, oh, being on the spectrum, blah, blah, blah. No, it's a real thing. There's a lot of things that go with it, a lot of
No,
things that
it's a
go
very real thing. Yeah.
different learning disabilities. Let me just actually pull this back up real quick. Uh,
I feel like death, though, for real, for real.
you sound like this was my family last week.
Yeah, like this. I probably shouldn't put my
Okay,
cup
so
on the screen again because we are not.
I
Sorry.
we I looked up how common it is to have a learning disability, and it's relatively common. It says it affects
Yeah.
5 to 15% of school age kids, with 4 million children under
Yeah.
the age of 18 having learning disabilities in the United States. 4 million children under 18 are facing learning
Yeah.
disabilities, and those are only diagnosed disabilities, not like a small.
Not
Often people will be on the spectrum or have some slight learning disability that's never diagnosed because it'd be like that, you know, as a parent you think about it, but then there's so many signs saying there isn't, you know what I mean?
right. Right. But see, that's the thing. Like me as a parent, um, I don't. To be honest with you, the way that they. Now, when I was doing this, of course, with Ben, it was a couple years ago, maybe 5 years ago at this point. But right? Yes, yeah, because he's 7.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, um, they weren't really like. I don't know how they do it now, but like I remember going to this like clinic, this autism clinic, I guess, and a doctor just came into the room and asked a series of questions and had like a notepad or whatever
Mm-hmm.
to show like pictures of things and asking Ben like what's this or what's this or what's the color of this and stuff like that. Um is that how they do the testing still? Because I feel like that's probably why a lot of kids aren't really diagnosed properly.
You know, I really don't know. When I asked my pediatrician about Gabriella, possibly, she said anymore, the main thing that is associated with autism is not like your learning ability, but your reaction to things, and your emotions. It all ties back because most times autistic people or people on the spectrum do not know how to handle their emotions. It's past the
Right.
level of ADHD and all that. But she said the focus more. I feel like personally is definitely, and this is what she said too, is that it is focused on reactions and emotions
Okay.
and all of that. And sometimes I feel like it's hard to go to one test and like, you know, I worked for disability for a while and I just feel like not in a child's point of view, but I feel like there are many things that get overlooked in the disability
Yeah.
world that people think that maybe you're scamming or you don't know what you're talking about. And one
Right.
test I don't think always determine everything because your kid sometimes isn't gonna react, especially if they are autistic or if they have some kind of disability. I don't think they're always gonna react the same way. I feel like sometimes being in a home setting and stuff, you're gonna see more of those reactions, those, you know, I don't really know how to describe it because Gabriella isn't autistic. There is
Yeah.
autism in our family, but there is an awesome website called Autism Speaks. They have a lot of resources on there, and a lot of information about the spectrum and different things, and signs and stuff. But there are so many things again that you could say it's autism or you could say it's ADHD, but it also could be a normal reaction. So again, as we are building this podcast, we're building a community to put out some information. I think what I'm going to do when we post this video is I'm going to post some links for parent resources, the Autism Speaks
Right.
page, um, information about learning disabilities, and normal reactions, like information where you can find normal reactions and stuff. Because as a new parent, sometimes I think, is my kid okay? Like,
Yeah.
do I
Right.
do are they reacting the way they should? And then all these questions run through your head because they're like, oh well, if your kid does this, they're autistic. If your kid does this, they're bipolar. If your kid does this, and it's not always the case. Sometimes that's just how a kid is going to be.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. Um, that is that is just how it is. You're like you said. It's all in just how much you focus on your kid, and you can tell that, oh, this isn't a normal reaction, or this is a little much. Like, you shouldn't be reacting that way. You know what I mean? It's just all depends on, I guess, the parents themselves. Uh, but I'm sorry, I'm fucking drawing a blank. My brain
That's okay,
feels
me
like
too. Because I hear my kids and I'm like, I don't really know what I was talking about. So I want to say I think this episode is more of a little bit of a storytelling, some things
yeah,
that we're going through and facing. My daughter is learning at a higher level than she should be, and it's affecting the way she reacts and stuff. So I don't know if she has ADHD. That is very common in our family. Your child has ADHD, and you
yeah,
had to advocate for your kid, and you're still advocating with your school system, trying to
yeah,
get them the help we need. Another thing we definitely touched on here is there are so many schools struggling to provide for learning disabilities, learning difficulties, support for parents. Again, we want moms, if you have something to say, leave it in the comments, send us an email. If you need like support in some way, you need to talk to somebody, don't feel like you shouldn't reach out either to us
right.
or to your pediatrician or maybe another mom that you see struggling. Um, I just think it's important that we all help each other navigate through being a mom, just in general, because these kids are difficult.
Absolutely. They are difficult in its own, but you also want to make sure that we're paving a successful road for our kids as well. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? Like, taking on those early signs and making sure that we're placing them where they should be, and focusing on making sure that they have the correct help and
Mhm.
that they can thrive. You know, we just want our
Mhm.
fucking kids to thrive. Like that's all I want for my son. My son is super smart. He can have a full grown conversation with a grown up, you know, a kid
Mhm.
not so much. But a grown up, yeah, he'll talk your ear off. So like I said, it's just you have to just focus on your kids and well, don't just solely focus. I'm fucking going back. Don't solely focus, but make sure that you do pave a path for your kids so that they do get a good education. That way they're not struggling and they don't end up dropping out of school. Even if they do drop out, whatever, it doesn't fucking matter anymore these days,
We'll
does
get
it?
yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah.
We'll get there. Our kids are little. Let's
But
see.
my son is 7, okay? He's not dropping out anytime soon. But yeah, so comment, like, subscribe. I'm so sorry. This was a little kind of
Unorganized, unfiltered.
unorganized. I had it completely organized
I know
here
we
on
talked about it. We,
I wanted
we'll
to
figure.
talk about, but I fucking feel like shit, and I think my brain is just mush today.
There's one thing I do want to say. Don't be afraid to look in your local community. Like I live in a small
Yeah.
community, and there's this awesome program called Moms as Teachers, Parents as Teachers, because it's not just about moms. Dads are struggling too. Um,
Yes.
and they'll come to your house. Like I'm setting up where a teacher's going to come and work with Gabriella, and we're going to learn new things. And they teach you as a parent to handle certain situations too. So there's
Oh yeah.
lots of resources. It's like free too. Like, and
Yeah.
if you don't have insurance or if you're afraid that your insurance
I think
won't
it's
cover it,
I think it's
there's
called
so
like what
much. There is so much that
early
gets covered.
intervention or something like that. I think that's
Yeah,
what it's
it's
called
different
throughout.
everywhere. Yeah,
It's yeah, but that mainly I think it's just like if you're looking for a resource like that, I think all you have to look up is like early
very
intervention, and it
interesting.
should pop up in your area. What's available
Or
for
ask
you?
at your doctor's office because they're not just
Oh yeah,
doctors. They have all
there's
that information. Like those pamphlets on the wall aren't useless. Like there's stuff there.
no, no, it's not useless at all.
So I don't know what we are going to be discussing next week. If there's something specific, we might continue on with this, or we might be going on to something else. We'll meet when you feel better, probably after the weekend. But if there's something you guys want to hear as our viewers, or if there's something you want to see us improve on, I know we kind of talked in circles a little bit today, but again, it's been a hectic week for both of us, and
Yeah, and I'm fucking
that's
dripping.
part of the
My nose
unfiltered
is.
part is
I
this
need
is
a
real
fucking.
life. We're just being
I'm just disgusted. Just fucking gross.
I
Listen,
mean,
if
why
I do
not?
it for my kid, I'll do it myself. Okay, that's a big deal. My nose
Yeah, who
boy's dripping.
cares? I don't really care what you do, bro. And the things that comes out of my child's nose, I'm like, what is that? I have to tell you, the one day I
But
told Gabriella that there was a monster in her nose, so I had to get it out. She's like,
yeah,
"Oh no, mommy, a monster!" And then she didn't like me wiping her nose anymore. She's like, "No, mommy, it's my monster."
it's mine. Leave it alone. But yeah, like we said, it's been a bit of a rough week, and I think once we start getting into the groove of things, I think it'll get better. This was
Yeah,
our first video recording, and the last one was our first audio, and I think we were kind of just fed up the last time because it took so many different tries to try to get this going. So I think we will evolve eventually. It will
yeah,
become a better blend, but the content is still good. Like we still want to be able to let you know, like we want to just build that community and be here for you guys. So just send us whatever you think we should work on, like you said, and like, comment, subscribe.
definitely
My house
subscribe. We need those
is gonna
subscriptions so
go
that we can do more
drink
things.
tea now.
I don't know what's happening out there. All right, so we will see you guys next week. We'll post more information about what the episode's about, and yeah, have a great weekend.
See you guys.